On October 3, 2023, the state of Florida carried out the lethal injection of Michael Zack at Florida State Prison, ending a case that began almost 3 decades earlier. Zack was put to death for a 9-day rampage across the Florida Panhandle in the summer of 1996, a sequence of events that left 2 women dead. To find a man with no fixed address, investigators tracked the movements of a stolen red Honda and a series of transactions at local pawn shops. At every stop, Zack left a physical record of his presence through the belongings he took from his victims and then immediately tried to sell. The first of these records began in Tallahassee on June 4, 1996. After learning he was being evicted from his girlfriend's apartment, Zack visited a local bar where he was a regular. A bartender there felt sorry for him and loaned him her red Honda so he could move his belongings. Zack took the car and headed west. He drove to Panama City and befriended a construction business owner at a pub. The man offered Zack a place to stay, but within 2 days, Zack disappeared in the night with 2 stolen guns and $42 from the man's wallet. Following the path on this map of the Panhandle, we see him move from Tallahassee to Panama City, and then to Niceville, where he visited a pawn shop to trade those stolen firearms for $225. This established a cycle Zack would repeat. He exploited the sympathy of strangers, stole their property, and used pawn shops to convert those items into cash. By June 12th, Zack was in Okaloosa County, where he met Laura Rosillo at a bar. He used the stolen red Honda and a promise of drugs to lure Rosillo to an isolated beach. Zack brutally attacked her inside the car, eventually pulling her out and beating her against the vehicle's tires. He then strangled her and hid her body behind a sand dune. Investigators suspected a sexual assault had occurred, but the biological evidence found on the scene did not match Zack's DNA. Without a genetic link, the case relied on tracking his behavioral patterns. The next day, Zack was at a Pensacola bar called Dirty Joe's. He spent the afternoon playing pool and talking with the bartender, Ravonne Smith. After smoking marijuana at the beach, Smith invited Zack back to her home. This floor plan of the residence shows that the attack was immediate. As they entered the house, Zack hit Smith with a beer bottle, leaving a spray of blood and glass shards on the love seat and the interior doorframe. The evidence shows a pursuit down the hallway. The trail pauses at the master bedroom, where Zack sexually assaulted Smith, and then moves to the guest bedroom. After beating her against the floor, Zack went to the kitchen for an oyster knife and stabbed her 4 times in the chest. Zack washed his hands and the weapon in the kitchen, but he left his own bloody shirt and shorts inside a master bedroom dresser drawer. He took Smith's television, VCR, and purse, placed them in her car, and drove to a lot where he swapped the license plate with the stolen red Honda. While he avoided leaving a DNA match at the first murder scene, the blood trail and discarded clothing in Smith's home created a direct forensic link. Zack drove Smith's car back to Panama City and attempted to sell the stolen television and VCR at a pawn shop. When the shop owners asked for identification so they could verify the items, Zack panicked and fled the store on foot, leaving the car behind. The pawn shop report gave police a specific location to search. A few days later, they found Zack hiding in an empty house nearby. After his arrest, Zack admitted to the killing, but claimed it was a defensive reaction. He told police he attacked Smith only after she insulted his mother, and he believed she was reaching for a gun. The blood spatter at the entrance of the home contradicted this story. It showed that Zack initiated the violence the moment they walked through the door, beginning a pursuit that moved through multiple rooms. Over the next 27 years, Zack's lawyers appealed the death sentence, citing his history of severe PTSD and fetal alcohol syndrome. The legal process reached its conclusion on October 2, 2023, when the U.S. Supreme Court denied a final request for a stay of execution. Zack was the 8th person executed under Governor Ron DeSantis, following a 3-year period with no executions in the state. Zack spent 9 days using manipulation and theft to move across the Florida Panhandle. In the end, he was undone by the blood he left behind and a simple attempt to sell a stolen television.